In a vain attempt to protect the hundreds of people taking cover inside the theater, "Children" in Russian had been printed in huge white letters on the ground in 2 places outside the Grand Karland building to make it visible from the air. For days, the government in the besieged and ruined city of Mariupol was unable to give a casualty count for March 16 attack. Ukrainians claim to have destroyed Russian warship. This satellite image shows the aftermath of the airstrike on the Mariupol drama theater, Ukraine, and the area around it. A man rides a bicycle as black smoke rises from a fuel storage of the Ukrainian army following a Russian attack on the outskirts of Kyiv, Ukraine, Friday, March 25, 2022. In announcing the toll on its Telegram channel Friday, it cited eyewitnesses. But it was not immediately clear whether emergency workers had finished excavating the ruins of the Mariupol drama theater or how witnesses arrived at the figure. Still, the emerging picture is certain to fuel allegations Moscow has committed war crimes buying civilians, whether deliberately or by indiscriminate fire. And it could increase pressure on NATO to step up military aid. The alliance has refused so far to supply warplanes or establish a no-fly zone over Ukraine for fear of getting into a war with Russia. US President Joe Biden's National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, said Friday the reaction to the theatering was just absolute shock, particularly given the fact that it was so clearly a civilian target. He said it showed a brazen disregard for the lives of innocent people. The scale of devastation in Mariupol, where bodies have been left unburied amid craters and hollowed-out buildings, has made information difficult to obtain. But soon after the attack, the Ukrainian Parliament's Human Rights Commissioner said more than 1,300 people had taken shelter in the theater, many of them because their homes had been destroyed. The building had a basement shelter, and some survivors did emerge from the rubble after the attack. The reported toll came a day after Biden and allied leaders promised that more military aid for Ukraine is on the way. But they stopped short of providing some of the heavy weaponry that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said is urgently needed. Zelensky has pleaded for planes, tanks and no-fly patrols over Ukraine. Farmer Valery Puzakovy, 56, left, poses for the picture with his wife Svetlana, a few blocks from their home in Yasnogorod, a rural town where the Ukrainian army stopped the advance of the Russian army, outskirts of Kyiv, Ukraine, Friday, March 25, 2022. Medical staff transfer an injured Ukrainian soldier to the operating room as the Russian attack continues in Kyiv, Ukraine, Friday, March 25, 2022. The US and the European Union on Friday did announce a move to further squeeze Russia economically, a partnership to reduce Europe's reliance on Russian energy and dry up the billions of dollars the Kremlin gets from the sale of fuel. Moscow is bristling at the tightening noose of sanctions around Russia's economy, and President Vladimir Putin's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, characterized the Western pressure as a real hybrid war, total war. And the goals are not hidden, he continued. They are declared publicly to destroy, break, annihilate, strangle the Russian economy and Russia on the whole. The Russian military said 1,351 of its soldiers have in Ukraine and 3,825 have been wounded, though it was not immediately clear if that number included pro-Moscow separatist forces or others not part of the defense ministry, such as the National Guard. Earlier this week, NATO estimated that 7,000 to 15,000 Russian soldiers have been in 4 weeks of fighting. In Ukrainian towns and cities that day by day increasingly resemble the ruins that Russian forces left behind in its campaigns in Syria and Chechnya, the misery for civilians grows ever more acute. In the village of Yasnohorodka, some 50 kilometers west of the capital, Russian troops, who were in the village earlier in the week, appeared to have been pushed out as part of a counteroffensive by Ukrainian forces. The tower of the village church was damaged by a blast and houses on the main crossroads lay in ruins. Loud explosions and bursts of gunfire could be heard. You can see for yourself what happened here. People were here. Our soldiers were here. There was fighting, said Yasnohorodka resident Valery Puzakov. Tens of thousands of people have left Mariupol in the past week, most of them driving out in private cars through dozens of Russian checkpoints. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky speaks to the leaders of the European Council during their summit in Brussels from Kyiv, Ukraine, Thursday, March 24, 2022. Local residents gather near a supermarket to get free food and water on the territory, which is under the government of the Donetsk People's Republic control, on the outskirts of Mariupol, Ukraine, Thursday, March 24, 2022. Unfortunately, nothing remains of Mariupol, said Evgeny Sikorko, who was among those waiting for an evacuation train in Zaporizhia, the closest urban center to Mariupol, and a way station for refugees. In the last week, there have been explosions like I've never heard before. Oksana Abramova, 42, said she ached for those left behind in the city, who have been cut off from communication with the shelling of cell, radio and TV towers and lack the means to escape. Many people have no connection yet. All the time I think about how they are, where they are still hiding, are they alive? Or maybe they are no longer there, she said. In the capital, Kyiv, ashes of the are piling up at the main crematorium because so many relatives have left, leaving urns unclaimed. The besieged northern city of Chernihiv is now all but cut off.